Thank you for letting us invade your space for a little while this afternoon. As you see, we are physically distant, but we're socially connected, right? And the three of us are kind of in different situations right now. I'm at home with a high schooler and a college student. Joyce, your kids are grown and out on their own. And Anna, you are at home with 4 children, elementary through middle school age. You said something last week when we were together that I thought was really wise. You said that you would like in the future, when your kids look back to this time, for them to look back with sweet memories. I thought that was really, really good. So would you mind sharing with us, what are you doing at your house? I know your husband's working a ton of hours right now, so it's you and your kiddos. What are you doing to make this time sweet?
Oh, I think a lot of it, I mean, obviously there's stuff we have to do. So everyone has to get their schoolwork done. We found personally for us, it's really helpful to have a routine. I think I'm not a super time-oriented person, but I'm a routine person. So it doesn't have to be exactly the same every day, but it like a general flow. So that's been really helpful. And then we can get schoolwork out of the way. And some of it's just really simple little things. We've been doing something called lunch doodles with Mo Willems. If any of you ever read the Pigeon Drives the Bus books, or Piggy and Gerald, he's the guy that wrote those. And so we just do fun things. He's doing this during the COVID-19 outbreak as a way to try help kids just have something fun to do. So I have a little example here. This is what I made the other day in my lunch doodle. This is my crown.
Impressive. I like it.
Yeah, a very fancy crown.
Nice.
We just been having fun. It's a funny video. Doing things like I don't know, just dancing and singing and, you know, playing around, trying to, I said, hey, let's make it a goal. We use up every game in our game cupboard. You know, let's just, they put on plays, do things like that. So a lot of it's simple things like that. Just trying to keep it fun and light. It's been interesting because I've noticed that it's slowed down a ton for me and the kids and sped up quite a bit for my husband. Who was already busy to begin with. But so I realized this past weekend kind of the disparity between the two was causing some tension, mostly in me, of just feeling kind of irritable at times. And I snapped at my kids the one day because I think overall it's really good, but then there are just times where I think change is always hard, transition's hard. I don't know if any of you with kids have ever experienced this with little kids at home. I feel like going from school to summer and summer to school there's always like this 2-week time period where everybody's just crabby and things like that. And we haven't experienced that the same way that we normally would at the end of a school year, but I've definitely noticed some change, or people can be kind of short with each other. So I love that overall it seems like it's been a really positive time, and that we're just having a lot of fun laughing together. And
a good thing. I think you probably heard me say that I think one of the hardest verses in the Bible is in 1 Corinthians 13. The New Living Translation says, love is not irritable.
yes.
Man, that's so hard. And I think especially right now when the stress levels for all of us are definitely elevated. Laughter is a good thing, and grace with each other and grace with ourselves is a really good thing.
Yes, for sure.
How about you, Joyce? You're not at home with little kids, but what's happening at your house these days?
No, I'm almost.
Don't tell me you're cleaning your house. I don't want to hear it. You're cleaning your house.
Well, I'm almost envious of Anna because kids always lighten the mood. Maybe I forgot, you know, I don't know. But it seems like, you know, you have to keep busy and do fun things like the art stuff, and it's almost like a little normal. So I kind of envious of that, Anna, but it sounds really fun. Now here we have just me and Chris, and the kids are all, you know, either out of state or they're not coming around. But I live by the calendar. So here's my year, the year 2020.
You're so organized.
I'm having a big adjustment period right now. I have going through my calendar withdrawals, but I think I'm coming out of it. Like I love to check those boxes and get things done, and my life is, I've been able to do that because I don't have any other little people to worry about. So I've been trying to stay positive. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, at first I wanted to watch every little bit of news there was because I wanted information, you know. But the more that I listened to the information, the more like, I don't know, I felt like depressing I got, you know? And it's not good news. I mean, you look at New York and it's like, it's horrendous. And I feel awful. And I had to go through this like little grieving thing where I'm grieving about America. I mean, I love America. I love Disney World. I love that we can just do whatever. I mean, I totally appreciate all those things. And it's like, so many things I think we took for granted or take for granted. And now it's like, we can't even meet together. I can't even go to latte. I'm so sad. Anyway, so I'm trying to make the best of it. And so I decided, okay, I've got to stop watching the news, all of that. And now that we've come to, I feel like we've come to this place of we're grounded. We're all grounded. We can't do anything. all we can do is talk on Zoom or call our friends. So I stopped watching as much and I started listening to worship music and definitely reading my Bible and doing devotions. And I started to shift my thinking a little bit and thinking about today. 3 weeks ago today was the day after latte. And who would have thought where we would be today 3 weeks ago? And but then I am watching a little bit of the news just like once a day, just one time, so I can keep up with things. And I am so impressed how far we've come in 3 weeks. 3 weeks, we've got medicines, we've got hospital ships, we've got all kinds of private businesses making masks. It's like amazing. I mean, if you think about it, I lost Mary. Where did you go? There. You got Jonathan's picture. Mary, what are you doing? That was, he's not really here, guys. Anyway, it's really fun to do Zoom, but it's really a new learning curve for everybody. Anyway, so in just 3 weeks, we have all this like good stuff happening. It's amazing, like what people can do, you know? And so I'm kind of been trying to focus on that. And so then my new focus is, what am I doing while I'm grounded? I like to call it I'm grounded. So what am I doing? I am, well, talking to family, my son and kids, you know, they go, oh, it's happy hour, 5 o'clock, we'll Zoom meet, and calling some friends and Zoom meeting with them. And maybe some of you saw the video my husband posted of me on it was day 7 of quarantine. I cleaned out my spice cupboard because I just couldn't deal with it. I don't cook a lot. So I started to have to cook a lot, and I had to take every piece of spice out because I couldn't find the spice I needed. So I said, I'm going to clean this cupboard out. And I was like so excited about it. And he posted it. And so a couple of my friends saw it and they go, hey, I did my spice cupboard. What do I do next? And I was like, oh, this could be fun. Why don't we post something we're cleaning before and after, you know, just as a little encouragement. Mary, maybe this will help you. I don't know. Maybe your house is clean and you don't need to post anything. But anyhow, I thought, well.
I just want to tell you, I cleaned out my pantry the other day.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. I thought that would be fun. And if you wanted to post your before and after of a spice cupboard, or the next thing I'm going to do is my linen closet. Now, these are all things that, you know, I was so busy with my calendar before and doing everything that I wished I had time that I could go through some of these things. But now I have all this time. So this sentence or this thought keeps going through my head so I don't get depressed. What can I do today that I will be happy about tomorrow? So like, this is all going to end. It's eventually going to end. I don't know how long, but you know, we're going to have the most cleanest houses in the world, but it'll end. And then I'll be happy that everything is clean and organized, I think anyway. So anyhow, so if you have a before or after picture you want to send, just email it to me, joyce.meekins@gracema.org, or just reply to this, this e-newsletter if that's how you're watching. And we're going to post it and encourage our sisters. How to stay busy and stay productive. And, you know, some other things you could do is just call a friend or clean a closet, whichever you prefer.
Or call a friend and clean your closet at the same time.
Ooh, that would be good.
My daughter's
do that. Focus. I can do folding clothes or emptying dishwasher at the same time, but after that, I don't know.
My daughters were creative the other day, the one who lives in London and then the one who lives here and then another one somewhere else. They did Zumba together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they're all on the computer together doing Zumba. But yeah, so I don't know what happened a little while ago. My internet and stuff like that messed up. So I don't know what I missed, what you were saying, but I know the other day we were talking about, Anna, you had mentioned something about the stages of grief. And I thought you had some really good thoughts on that. I wondered if you'd be willing to share some of those with us.
Yeah, I was reading something. Well, actually, I was thinking about it first, then I was researching, and somebody else had already written an article on how what a lot of people are experiencing right now is grief. And, they say there are 5 stages of grief, and what is it, isolation and denial, and what is it? Sorry. Anger, trying to bargain. So, okay, if I had just done this, or maybe if I do this now, and ultimately you end at acceptance, but you ping pong back and forth. It's not like you've arrived at it necessarily, but you'll have times where you feel okay and times where you don't. And I just think this is a time where people feel unsettled, because it's like the ground has been taken out from under you. And so it can be easy to feel kind of uncertain of what's going on. But I thought it's helpful sometimes just to have a name for something, to say, oh, that's right, that's what I'm experiencing. And I've just been praying so much that this would be a time that God uses where people are kind of shaken from their normal routine. We are creatures of comfort, and so we like to do whatever is easy and whatever is most comfortable, and we probably won't ever change unless we are forced to, unless there's a good reason to. And so this is a time where I feel like, okay, God, shake us up. Take all the things that we're used to doing and that we've maybe taken for granted, like Joyce was saying, and would you give us a new appreciation for what we already have, for what God is doing. And so to be able to just say, okay, I feel the grief of what I had, the grief of what I'm going through now, but like Joyce said too, this is not going to be going on forever. There will be an ending to it. But my prayer is that it's not going back to the old ways as much as it's saying, okay, God, do a new thing in us. And this morning I was singing that song New Wine, where it says,
what did you say? You were drinking a lot of wine?
I was not drinking new wine. I was singing the worship song New Wine. And where it talks about, like, in the crushing, don't you hate that when you can't think of the words of a song without singing it? But you're making new wines, and in the soil I've now surrendered. You're breaking new ground. And so, God, would you take these things? Would you do a new thing in me? Would you do a new thing in my relationships? I just think that God's going to bring a lot of beauty out of this time, because he always does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Joyce, I thought what you said a little while ago, just kind of dovetailing that with what you're talking about, Anna, with the stages of grief, about watching the news and how what's on the news right now is just it's just heartbreaking, which I don't think we need to deny reality. But I heard a psychologist the other day say, we talk about post-traumatic stress syndrome, but a lot of us right now are putting ourselves in a situation of present traumatic stress syndrome, that when we're taking that in all day long, every day, that we're just being constantly exposed to trauma, and how hard that is, and how it's a good idea to compartmentalize that. And yes, take a few minutes a couple times in the day to find out the newest news or watch the briefing or whatever it is, that however you like to get your news, but to pull back from that. And so you guys had a good idea, I thought, the other day for when we do our video next week, some things we can do. What were you, Joyce? You had the idea of before and after cleaning, and then there was something else you talked about, Anna, I think, for us to do next week.
Yeah, I was just thinking how, like you say, we get bombarded by the negative stories, but I think there's so much positive going on too. And it might be something that's interpersonally going on, like, okay, this is something I've seen God do inside of me, but something more than that. Okay, I've seen this person do this really heroic thing. And I thought, isn't that what God always does? He takes ordinary people and does extraordinary things. And so I thought it'd be so neat to hear people's stories. If you have something where you say, hey, I saw my neighbor do this, or I saw this person at my kid's school, or my friend or my cousin or whatever. And what if we were to share those stories, if you were to email in, and each week we get to read some of the stories of what God's doing? I just thought that might be really encouraging and uplifting.
That'd be great.
interesting to hear what other people are doing, you know, like I just want to see like, oh, just to see people's faces when we do the Zoom. It's like, oh, look, you're still there. I love it.
That's so good. So if you have a story like that, if you want to email that to joyce.meekins, MEEKINS @gracecma.org. Or if you're looking at this video because you received it in the Women's Ministry newsletter, you can just reply to that and it'll come back to the place where we can use it for next week. So Joyce, Anna, anything more you want to say? I'd love to pray for whoever's listening to this right now. Anything else you want to say before we close?
I think I was thinking about the verse with the new wine. I had done a fast in January, and God spoke that verse to me, and he showed me that I had too much stuff in my house and in my office, and it was so much stuff that I didn't have any room for the new wine. And God wants to give us new wine, new hope, new power. And this whole thing is kind of a clearing away of the things that are not important. You know, like it's a lot easier to go, you know what, I don't need that. You know, I don't need a lot of the things I thought I needed. I only need my calendar. And no, I'm kidding. But really, God wants to do a work in all of our lives. And it's exciting. And I think he's doing it. And we just have to keep our eyes on him.
I love that. Keep our eyes on him. Well, how about if I pray and then we'll say adios. Lord, I thank you for each one listening right now. I thank you that you know her situation, you know every detail. And I pray for each of us that we will keep our eyes on you and that you'll have the freedom to strip away those things in our lives that need to go and bring us back to the basics of loving you and loving people. Thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I love you.
All right, we'll be back to Invader Space next week. Bye.
Bye.